Ever looked at a US map and realized that half of America is practically empty? That's right. Vast stretches of the country have fewer people than some big city neighborhoods. Why aren't people flocking to these wide-open states? Is it the climate, the isolation, or something deeper? And could these empty lands actually hold hidden opportunities? Today, we're diving deep into the 9 emptiest states in America, where miles of untouched wilderness, lonely highways, and ghost towns tell a fascinating story. So grab a seat and get ready. You're about to see a side of America most folks never think about. Number 9. Nevada. Picture this: a state that's mostly desert, with glittering lights in one corner and tumbleweeds in the rest. Yep, that's Nevada, where the population game is a story of extremes. While 3.2 million people live here as of 2025, about 2.3 million of them, over 70%, are packed into the Las Vegas metro area alone. That leaves most of the state's 110,000 square miles practically empty. In fact, Nevada's overall population density is only about 30 people per square mile, compared to New Jersey's 1,200 people per square mile. Talk about space to stretch your legs. So why is so much of Nevada empty? First up, geography. The state is dominated by the Mojave Desert and Great Basin, scorching summers, bone-dry conditions, and mountain ranges that make development tricky. Some areas barely see 5 inches of rain a year. That's less water than you'd spill from a knocked-over water bottle. Next, the economy here is hyper-concentrated. Las Vegas powers most of the state's GDP through tourism, entertainment, and gaming. Outside of that, it's a sparse mix of mining towns and remote military installations. Not much is drawing new residents to small desert towns where summer highs regularly top 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And housing? Believe it or not, Nevada's median home price is around $440,000, but again, that's driven by urban demand in Vegas and Reno. Drive an hour out and land prices plummet, but so do job opportunities. Many areas are modern-day ghost towns where the nearest gas station might be 50 miles away. Finally, transportation plays a role. Outside the I-15 corridor, you're looking at vast highways where you can drive for hours without seeing another car. Combine that with limited schools, healthcare, and utilities in rural counties, and you can see why Nevada feels empty fast. So, beyond the neon glow of the Vegas Strip, you've got a whole lot of wide-open, empty desert. Number 8. New Mexico. New Mexico is known as the land of enchantment, but when it comes to population, it's more like the land of empty space. Despite being the 5th largest state in the U.S. by land, covering 121,590 square miles, it has only about 2.1 million people in 2025. That's a population density of just 17 people per square mile. Compare that to California's 253 people per square mile. You could fit the entire population of New Mexico into Los Angeles 5 times over and still have room left. Why is it so empty? First, geography. Much of New Mexico is made up of high desert, rugged mountains, and vast plateaus. While stunning, the arid climate and water scarcity make large-scale agriculture and urban expansion difficult. Many rural areas get less than 10 inches of rain a year. The economy is also a factor. New Mexico relies heavily on energy, federal government spending, and tourism. Outside cities like Albuquerque and Santa Fe, opportunities can be sparse. Plus, internet connectivity is still an issue in many rural parts, a big deal in today's remote work world. Housing is affordable, though. The median home price is around $290,000, but again, most demand is centered in a few metro areas. Head into the countryside and you'll find tiny towns where time seems to stand still. Some counties have fewer than 1 person per square mile. Culturally, New Mexico offers incredible Native American history, Pueblo architecture, and art scenes, but the rural isolation isn't for everyone. Healthcare and services can be hours away in some areas. So while New Mexico enchants visitors with its beauty, most Americans still choose not to plant roots in its vast open spaces, leaving the state beautifully, hauntingly empty. Number 7. Nebraska. Nebraska, the heart of the Great Plains and the textbook definition of wide open spaces. With a land area of 77,220 square miles and a population of about 1.9 million in 2025, Nebraska's population density is a mere 25 people per square mile. In contrast, nearby Illinois packs in 230 people per square mile. Why is Nebraska so empty? Geography and economy both play a huge role. Nebraska is dominated by prairies and farmland. It's one of the nation's leading producers of corn, soybeans, and cattle. Nearly 90% of the land is used for agriculture, but that also means there are fewer urban centers. Omaha and Lincoln hold about half the state's population. Outside these cities, you'll find towns with populations under 1,000, separated by miles of rolling plains. In fact, nearly one-third of Nebraska's counties have been classified as frontier counties by the U.S. Census, meaning fewer than 6 people per square mile. The younger generation often moves away. Nebraska's rural counties have experienced steady outmigration since the 1950s, as jobs in manufacturing and agriculture became more automated. With fewer career options, many young Nebraskans head to urban areas or out of state. Housing is affordable. Median home prices hover around $250,000, but the challenge is attracting new residents when amenities are sparse and winters can be brutal, with icy winds sweeping across the plains. Another factor? Transportation. You might drive 50 miles between gas stations in some areas. It's great if you love solitude, but a drawback for those seeking vibrant communities. So while Nebraska boasts stunning sunsets, big skies, and a tight-knit culture, most of its land remains quiet and empty. Number 6. Idaho. Idaho might surprise you. While it's often called a rising real estate hotspot, the state is still overwhelmingly empty once you step outside the booming cities. Idaho covers 83,570 square miles, but is home to only about 2 million people in 2025. That's roughly 23 people per square mile. Compare that to neighboring Washington, with 120 people per square mile. Why so empty? First, mountains. The Rocky Mountains, Sawtooth Range, and massive wilderness areas cover much of Idaho. In fact, more than 60% of Idaho is public land. National forests, wilderness preserves, and BLM land. Much of it is unbuildable. Next, water scarcity. Southern Idaho is part of the high desert, where farming depends on careful irrigation from the Snake River. Towns beyond Boise and Coeur d'Alene get very dry summers and tough winters. Economically, Boise is booming, but smaller towns struggle. Outside the Boise metro, which holds over 40% of Idaho's population, job markets can be limited to agriculture, forestry, or seasonal tourism. The median home price statewide is about $420,000, but in remote counties, it drops fast. Yet, despite Idaho's outdoorsy charm, famous for hiking, skiing, and fly fishing, many areas remain untouched simply because they're hard to access. Some mountain towns are snowbound for months. Also, infrastructure lags behind in rural areas. Broadband internet can be spotty, and some counties lack basic medical services. That's a big deterrent for younger families. So while Idaho is growing fast in select pockets, most of the state remains wide open. In fact, 98% of Idaho's land is classified as rural. Beyond the tourist hotspots, you'll find endless pine forests, mountain ranges, and river valleys where wildlife far outnumbers humans. Number 5. South Dakota. South Dakota, home of Mount Rushmore, is iconic, but in terms of population, it's almost a ghost state. Covering 77,116 square miles, South Dakota's population is only about 920,000 as of 2025. That's just 11 people per square mile. Compare that to Minnesota next door with 71 people per square mile. You'll feel the difference fast. Why is so much of South Dakota empty? First up, geography. The state is split by the Missouri River into East River and West River. The West is mostly prairie and badlands, with rugged landscapes that are hard to farm. Even in the East, farming is limited to areas with good soil and access to water. Second, economy. Outside of Sioux Falls, about 200,000 residents, and Rapid City, around 80,000, much of South Dakota consists of small farming towns and Native American reservations. About 40% of counties have populations under 5,000. Young people tend to leave. South Dakota's rural counties have faced decades of outmigration. While agriculture, beef, corn, soybeans, remain strong. High-tech and service jobs are limited outside of urban centers. Housing is very affordable. The median home price is about $275,000, but jobs and amenities can be hours away in rural areas. And winters? Bitterly cold. Blizzards can shut down entire highways for days, adding another layer of isolation. Also, healthcare access is a challenge. Some towns rely on traveling nurses and telemedicine because hospitals are few and far between. The internet divide remains real in many parts of the state. So, while South Dakota offers stunning prairies, historic landmarks, and outdoor adventures, most of the state is still beautifully, hauntingly empty. Number 4. North Dakota. North Dakota, a land of big skies and endless fields, is even emptier than its southern sibling. With 70,704 square miles and a population of only about 780,000 in 2025, North Dakota's population density is just 11 people per square mile. For comparison, North Carolina boasts 218 people per square mile. Talk about different worlds. Geography plays a huge role. Much of North Dakota is prairie and plains. While fertile for farming, wheat, barley, canola, the landscape offers few natural features to attract large cities. In fact, Bismarck, the capital, has only around 75,000 residents, tiny by U.S. standards. Second, climate. Winters are brutal, with temperatures often plunging to -20 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. Blizzards and wind chills make the state one of the coldest in the continental U.S. These harsh conditions aren't exactly a big draw for new residents. Economically, North Dakota saw a boom during the oil fracking surge of the 2010s. Towns like Williston exploded with growth, but many have since shrunk back as oil prices stabilized. Outside of agriculture and energy, job opportunities remain limited. Housing is affordable. Median prices are around $285,000, but again, amenities can be hard to come by in smaller towns. Many rural counties average fewer than 3 people per square mile. Finally, migration trends impact population. Many young people leave North Dakota for bigger cities in neighboring states seeking more diverse career paths. Combined with an aging population, this results in declining numbers across much of the state. So, while North Dakota offers vast beauty, peaceful living, and endless horizons, its population remains sparse. Number 3. Montana. Montana. Big sky country. And trust me, that big sky stretches over a whole lot of empty land. As the 4th largest state in America at 147,040 square miles, Montana is gigantic. Yet in 2025, only about 1.1 million people call it home. That's a population density of just 7.5 people per square mile. For fun comparison, tiny Rhode Island fits inside Montana about 120 times and still has nearly as many people. Why is Montana so empty? First off, terrain. The western half is dominated by the Rocky Mountains, and stunning, yes, but not ideal for mass development. The eastern half is high prairie and rolling hills, beautiful but remote. Then there's climate. Winters can be downright brutal. Temperatures drop to -30 degrees Fahrenheit, and some towns experience snow from October through May. Harsh weather deters many who might otherwise move here. Economically, tourism is a big deal. People flock to Glacier National Park and Yellowstone's northern entrance. There's also agriculture, cattle and wheat. But those industries don't create large urban centers. Billings, Montana's largest city, has only about 120,000 people. Housing costs are also interesting. Median home prices are about $450,000, driven up in recent years by out-of-state buyers wanting vacation homes. But step into rural counties? Some properties go for under $200,000 by, but you'll be hours from big grocery stores or hospitals. Also, Montana has limited infrastructure. Internet access can be spotty in remote areas, healthcare is scarce, and some mountain towns are practically snowbound for weeks. Montana is a paradise for those seeking solitude, natural beauty, and outdoor adventure. But these same factors keep its population sparse. So even as it grows slowly, most of Montana remains wonderfully empty. Number 2, Wyoming. If you crave space, Wyoming is your dream state. With 97,914 square miles of land and a 2025 population of just 580,000, it remains America's least populated state. That's a jaw-dropping 6 people per square mile. Compare that to New York's 430 people per square mile. You could drive all day in Wyoming and count your neighbors on one hand. Geography is a major reason. Much of Wyoming is high desert and mountains, like the majestic Wind River Range and Bighorns. Beautiful? Absolutely. Easy to build cities in? Not so much. Nearly half of Wyoming is public land, state parks, national forests, and BLM areas. Economically, Wyoming leans on energy, coal, oil, natural gas, plus agriculture, especially cattle ranching and tourism. You've got Yellowstone and Grand Teton drawing millions of visitors, but tourists don't stay permanently. The state's largest city, Cheyenne, has only about 65,000 residents. That's smaller than many U.S. suburbs. Then there's the weather. Winters here are no joke. Think minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, bone-chilling winds, and snow that can shut down highways for days. Combine that with low rainfall. Some areas get under 10 inches annually, and living off the land becomes a serious challenge. Housing? It's affordable compared to national averages. Median home prices hover around $370,000. But with vast distances between towns, limited job diversity, and fewer modern conveniences, rural Wyoming life is not for everyone. Some counties have fewer than 2 people per square mile. Talk about elbow room. For those who love wide-open spaces, cowboy culture, and breathtaking nature, Wyoming is paradise. But for many Americans, its isolation, harsh climate, and narrow job market keep this beautiful state nearly empty. Number 1. Alaska. Now let's talk about the ultimate empty state. Alaska. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Alaska spans 663,268 square miles. It's 1/5 the size of the entire lower 48 states. Yet in 2025, only about 730,000 people live here. That's just 1.3 people per square mile, the lowest density in the nation by far. In fact, more people live in San Francisco than in all of Alaska. Why is it so empty? First, geography. Alaska is largely wilderness. Snow-capped mountains, sprawling tundra, endless forests, and massive glaciers. Over 80% of the state has no road access. Many communities are reachable only by plane or boat. Then there's the climate. Winters are extreme. In Barrow, now known as Utqiagvik, the sun disappears for 65 consecutive days. Temperatures in interior Alaska can plunge to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit or worse. Even summer brings its quirks, 24-hour daylight in the Arctic Circle. Economically, most jobs center around oil, natural gas, fishing, and tourism. But they're clustered in places like Anchorage, home to about 290,000 people, and Fairbanks. The rest of the state is dotted with small villages, many with populations under 500. Housing varies dramatically. In Anchorage, the median home price is around $475,000. But in remote villages, some homes lack modern plumbing or electricity year-round. Supplies, flown in at sky-high costs. A gallon of milk in some villages can cost $8 to $10. Healthcare is limited. Many Alaskans rely on telemedicine or must fly hundreds of miles for care. Education and internet access also trail behind U.S. averages in remote areas. Of course, Alaska is a land of adventure, fishing, hiking, wildlife, northern lights, but it's simply too rugged and isolated for mass population growth.